Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday live that I do every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. I'm Carrie Cole, CEO and founder of Carrie Cole Voice and Music and CCVM Label Without Walls. And I'm here today, as I am most Wednesdays, to talk about voice and artist development and your music and how you can actually really step into true artistry and become the artist of your life and build a career that is successful. Today's conversation is about artist development in 2025, how to go viral, gain placements, win awards, all the things that happen when you have certain key foundational pieces in place. And these are results that our clients are having, and I want to share it with you. A quick announcement: if you are serious about learning the latest methods in artist development that are working in the industry right now, join our upcoming free masterclass. I'll put the link over on YouTube. And for those of you that are on Facebook, and for those of you that are on Instagram, you'll find it in our link in bio. You'll find it in our link tree. If you're interested in this, register, because this is a one-time event that I'm doing this year. I'm taking all of my expertise, all of my decades in the business as a mentor, as an artist development expert, as a vocal coach, and really someone who is guiding artists for many, many years, and also from being one myself many years ago and being one of the first conscious music artists putting out a record inspired by the Four Agreements. So I've been in the game for a really long time. And one of the benefits of living in New York City and working in New York City is the benefit of what I've learned from my clientele. It's really been an incredible journey. What I know now is not what I knew when I started out as an artist. And so I put it all into a 75-minute masterclass that I'm sharing with you. This is the first masterclass of the year. We're doing a series, one on artist development, one on voice, one on A&R and songwriting, and another one on vocal mastery throughout the year. But this first one's coming up on the 22nd of May. It's called the Ultimate Artist Development Plan for 2025. It's really taking a look at the methods and techniques that are working in the industry today for really how to build a career that wins awards, recognition, and notoriety without going into overwhelm and burnout and just thinking that social media is the way to build your career, because it's not. It's just a tool, right? And so many artists are falling into that saboteur, I call it. It's sabotaging them, thinking that, put your music out and then post on social media, and that's all they're doing. And there's a big disconnect. So I'm going to go into it a little bit today, and then come and join me at this masterclass, where you're really going to get those that are attending actually get my artist development checklist. So this is a one-time event. The only time I'm doing it this year. So come and join me. It's at 3 p.m. Eastern on the 22nd. If you can't make it, sign up and get the replay. Replay is available for 7 days. So in this series, I'm really pulling back the curtain on the hidden processes that has helped so many artists really put out records that gain notoriety, grow devoted fan bases, and finally start really reaching the audience. One of our artists just doubled their Spotify numbers the other day. They were like so surprised. But when you're doing the work, this is what happens, right? And you have the right plan. So come and join us. Today, I'm going to give you a little taste of it in our 30 minutes together today. So, and one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this is everyone and their mother's talking about marketing. It's like marketing, social media, how to gain more, how to do reels and gain more followers. And those followers don't necessarily turn into fans. And those followers, social media followers are flaky. We're scrolling. Even if we see something we like, we're not necessarily going to go and follow that profile. Even with artists that we love, some big artists that I love, I'm not even following their social media profile, because that's not where I go. I'm going to Spotify to listen to them. So it's really important, with so much information on marketing out there and not enough information on the actual development that builds careers. Artists are really caught in this exhausting cycle of putting music out, posting endlessly on social media, trying to grow the audience on the own, and the to-do list is overwhelming. You're trying to be a marketer and a promoter and an artist and a songwriter and a performer and all of these things. So the key to really what we're going to examine in this upcoming masterclass is really the gold behind what makes artists go viral besides tripping the algorithm. Like the real, like how does it really happen and what is it made of and what are the components, right? So that you can start working on these pieces to really build something more solid that is going to attract that respect and notoriety and awards. And again, these are things that all of my clients are gaining as they're working with these tools and methods. So the first thing is really as much a lesson in artist identity as it is in artist development and marketing as it is in artist development. Speaking of marketing, I talk a lot about the 3 golden keys of marketing to me, which are really marketing and branding rolled into one. And the 3 golden keys are A, the right product, 2, the right product, 2, the right message, and 3, the right audience. So the number 1 is extremely important because without the right product, without the right music, your campaigns are going to fall flat, and one of the problems I see out there is because artists are rushing to release, because you can release a record on your own right now. That's fantastic. It's never been so available, but it's also kind of bad news because those albums are not being curated enough and singles are just being thrown up and let's just cross our fingers and hope, and then promote on social media. But again, that's not the way that you actually win awards or gain notoriety or recognition. So that album really needs to be curated. And, you could have the right product, you could have the right message, but not have the right product, not have the right music. People love great music. They get in line for great music. The good news is it comes down to is that it really is all about the music, guys. So the most important thing that you do way beyond social media is to become the best singer, the best songwriter, the best performer, the best recording artist, whatever that aspect of the business that you want to pursue, whether it's, performing locally, or maybe it's just getting sync placements. Maybe you don't want to perform. There's a lot of different options today for actually bringing your music to the world and being successful in the way that serves you. And feel free to put in the comments, what you're really aiming for. If you ask an artist, do you want to make $1 million or do you want to reach 1 million people? Generally, 9 times out of 10, it's the latter. I want to reach 1 million people. I just want my music to reach people. I want it to touch people. I want it to help people. Artists really need that reciprocity, that return of their music, and for all artists, of their projects, of their paintings, of their books, authors too. To be received, right? And to be something that people want to consume, right? So yes, if you're into sync placement, then you're not looking to perform. So scratch that off your list, but you need the right product for sync, right? You need the right music. And then the second key in the golden keys of marketing is the right message. So the right message, you can have a great product, but not know how to talk about it at sync conferences, or not know how to approach the industry, or not have a differentiator, I call it, or a niche, or what you would call in marketing a unique selling proposition, the thing that makes you stand out, right? So a lot of people, when they're trying to be successful in the industry, they tend to want to please all, or I write this and I write that and I write this kind and that kind. You really want to specialize. If you write sad songs, write freaking sad songs. And then people are going to come to you for sad songs because they know, oh, that's the person to go to. Like Patty Griffin is the person to go to, right, for sad songs. Or Sam Smith earlier on in The Lonely Hour, or, And you really want to be who you are, which is really important, and not try to manipulate or change who you are. But the right message is really key. And let me actually, this is all on the blog as well. So let me just pull from some of my notes here, because I want to make sure that I touch the pieces. So the first in the Golden Keys of Marketing is the right product. It starts with your songs. And, you really need to curate those songs, not just record and release every single song. And then your voice, you need to up level your voice. Every single artist I've ever met, including Chrisette Michelle, when she was here in my studio, can improve their voice like tenfold, especially with the method that I use, the co-vocal method. Like, most singers have no idea what they are missing, and they think training is going to take away their style. There's nothing further from the truth. You're just going to be using this method, which is a biomechanical method. You're just going to be a stronger singer. And then your production, and then the process of actually finding your signature sound and being able to carve your own sound, a sound that's going to stand out in the marketplace, because we have 100,000 songs being uploaded to Spotify every day, which is just exhausting to think about, overwhelming to think about. How are you going to stand out? How you're going to stand out is having an exceptional product in the marketplace, and so we really need to curate that. Number 2 is the message. So without the right product, you won't be able to grow your career or your revenue, or really get off the ground, right? The right message, the key to going viral and getting placements and winning awards, is how you present yourself, your branding, your message, your professionalism. You can have the right product, but not the right message, and your outreach will fall flat, right? Or you'll come across green, or whatever that is, right? So cultivating the right message is the heart of branding. And it really is the visual that stops the scroll, but the copy that gets people to click or convert. So, we were talking about a post that went mini viral that one of our artists did. But the post was this beautiful video in slow motion, which was really cool. That helped. But then the message was a song to heal your inner child. Like, who doesn't want that? Right. And then you click because it's like, I want to heal my inner child. So the message that you're using, the specific message, is going to either make people engage or not, or going to draw people to your music or not, or draw industry to you or not. Right. Like with one of my artists, Chris Assad, we completely revamped all the copy on his website, and including his bio. And he went on to get signed by management and booking, and now he's doing a tour with Malte Martin, so he's on his way. But all of these things are extremely important in how you're presenting yourself, right? So it starts by writing down your mission statement. My mission as an artist is to XXX, and then work on your brand pillars, which are the foundational elements that define a brand's identity and message, helping to differentiate it from competitors. And I do recommend taking the 12 brand archetype quiz, which you can find online, to identify your 3 archetypes. And this will help inform your message and your why even more. And that should be a part of your campaigns that you do. We do all of this work, by the way, inside my Step Up to the Spotlight Kickstart Artist Development Program. And we have a big webinar masterclass starting in 2 weeks. That's free for you guys, where I'm going to go much more into detail. So make sure you sign up for that. It's called Artist Development Plan for 2025, how to win awards and gain notoriety and recognition and stuff. So I'm going to detail all of this much more than this live right now. So come and join us, and you'll see it in all the links. Sign up for that. It's the only artist development masterclass I'm doing this year. And number 3 is the right audience. So you can have the right message and the right product, but not be speaking to the right audience. It's going to fall on deaf ears, right? So it's like, if you're a conscious music artist, but for some reason you have all these followers who are not into that, your music isn't going to resonate with them. Your message isn't going to resonate with them, right? If you're trying to get a sync placement but aren't pitching your music to the right agencies, or you want to win awards but you aren't submitting to the right opportunities, or you're not even submitting to opportunities. And that's where I have this big problem with social media distracting the crap out of people, making them think that that's how you grow a career, and you're missing out on all these other things that actually put the plan in motion and build your career. So blah, 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 blah. And the key to really going viral, is having those three things in place. And you may think, like, oh, my music is good. Why doesn't it have more streams? Why isn't it getting on playlists? Why isn't it? Well, you need to submit to playlists, submit to Submit Hub. That's one of the better ones. And there's certain actions that you need to take to move things forward, to increase streams and things like that don't involve like paying for streams. But the thing that makes it go viral is the music itself, right? And every new project that you do is an opportunity to completely up level. Like several of my artists, like anytime they start working with me, they start up leveling. They start up leveling their voice, they up leveling their songwriting, up leveling their production, up leveling their records. And each time that new artist puts out a record, it's 10 times what the prior album was. And then we see in the stats on Spotify, we see the release, the streams doubling, tripling sometimes. So it's not it's not just a good idea. Like, we actually see the results in the streams. We see the results in the reaction to the music. We see the results in winning awards. Several of my artists coming out of, working with me, coming out of my programs or my artist membership, start winning awards. They become the winners of the finalists or the winners of award shows or of songwriting contests, or, I've helped people win Grammys, actually, and it's not, it's a science. It really is. And it's really about, people say the devil's in the details. I always say the divine is in the details. I like that better. That just rings better for me. I don't know about you, but the divine is in the details, or the delicious is in the details, or whatever you want to say, but something positive. We need positive. But it really is in all the little details. One of my artists sent me their album cover, which had, the designer did a beautiful job. It was just fantastic. And they had this great branding and great idea for the photo, and all of that was great. But the photo wasn't popping, and then I go look on Shervin Linez's Instagram, Shervin Photo with an F, Photo, F-O-T-O, who's one of the top photographers here in New York, who works with, he shoots Billie Eilish and Adele, but he also works with a lot of independents. And he's just, one of these incredible visionary photographers. And the photo needs to be treated. It needs like more saturation and more depth in order for the colors to pop. And it needs a little colorization of the leaves, so it's tying into some of the other colors. And this makes a big difference. Like, I remember when I was working with Diane Birch during the recording of Bible Belt, and I put a photo of Diane in my e-zine, in my weekly newsletter. And I was so impressed because her manager, Wendy Lasseter, emailed me like minutes after the newsletter went out and said, "Thank you so much for including Diane in your newsletter. Can you use this photo instead of that one?" So they, I was like, wow, that manager is on it. And she is. Wendy's an incredible manager and had really placed Diane strategically in all the major magazines. And, they were really positioning her to be the new Carole King, to be the new, the new sensation. And it was a really exciting moment in her career. But that's how important that photo was. So it's all about the details, like how people go viral. If you're just like writing 5 songs and recording 5 songs and putting them out, you're not curating your material. If you're just snapping a photo and throwing it up and hoping it's good enough, you're not curating your message or your visual brand, because people want to step into a fantasy, or they want to step into a mood, a feeling. That's what music is, right? And that image needs to look like the music sounds. So there's like when, when you look at this from the perspective of what goes into making an artist go viral from the creative front, besides, we're not talking about tripping the algorithms here. We're talking about the actual product, because I see a huge problem in the independent music movement, which initially is a great, fantastic thing. Look, we can put out records today, but that doesn't mean that your record or your content or your message or your material is curated enough. And so, I see a lot of artists just like throwing down vocals and putting them out and not curating it, not working on the vocal arrangement, not knowing that all of these things are the important details of making something go viral. Because you could have a great song and not a great enough vocal, to be honest, and it won't take flight, right? You could have a great singer and not a good enough song, and it may get a little bit of traction, but it's not really going to go, because people are after the song, how that makes them feel, how that touches them. They're not really just after the voice, right? Or you could have, a great song and not have the right production or the right producer that is going to frame that artist and really build a unique sound for them that stands out. So all of these pieces are extremely important, and they're part of the foundational pieces that, you can't fly if the foundation isn't strong, right? And then there's the foundational elements of the plan, right? Because no amount of marketing or social media is going to actually build the career, right? There are key things. You can market till you're blue in the face, but if you don't have the product that people want, you don't know how to brand and market in a correct way, and you haven't curated your material or your message, and you haven't learned how to find the right audience, you'll fall short, or the right opportunities if you're looking for sync or things that don't have to do with building an artist career, right? Remember, it's a process, but come and learn this process. I teach this process. It's layered into everything I do. It's inside my Step Up to the Spotlight program, which is our Kickstart Artist Development program. If you really want to touch all of these pieces, it's in there. And then people come in, they go through Step Up, and then they join our Artist Sanctuary membership, and we go deeper into it there. Or people come into my Vocal Freedom Circle to really up-level their voice, which is an online self-study now. And then people come into my Signature Songwriting Circle, which we're doing at the end of July, to really get A&R, sound and direction, and write songs that are more curated, right? So this is the stuff. This is the stuff it's really made of. And then you go out there, and the algorithm, with the right marketing materials, the algorithm is going to pick you up. It's going to feel it. And then the playlists are going to pick you up, because people can tell quality. People love great music that's produced with quality, like a serious quality. And, I'm always in the process of making records. Right now, I have about 4 records on my desk that I'm overseeing and helping with the A&R, with the sound and direction. People will send me a mix, and it'll be like, yeah, something's off. Can you figure out what it is? Yeah, that cello should not be in the song because it doesn't match the song, or this or that, or it's not the right mix, or the vocal needs to be more forward, or, it's all the tweaking. Again, it's the details that make something stand out. And we just keep tweaking until we have it, until we have goosebumps on our body, like the hair standing up. That's the goal. And until you're there, you're not there. And most people don't have enough endurance, or know that they should have endurance, or how to actually get what they want from their producer, or how to communicate it. And so all of these things are extremely important, We actually give the producer a full creative brief of the project, so they know exactly the direction, and then they know what the wild card is. So, like to bring in something new, something that aligns with the artist, that is pulling out a little bit more of a unique sound, and then they can be creative with that front, But producers are not mind readers, and they have different tastes than you do, and that's why it's really important. So let's open it up for questions. Anyone have questions about anything that I've talked about? Now is your time. Please enter it in the comments. Just remember, it's the good news is it's all about the music. Linda Perry, who's an amazing producer, Grammy-winning producer, I remember her saying many years ago, I just pray that an artist has good enough songs when they come in the studio, because no amount of production is going to make up for a song that's not strong enough, right? Where I talk a lot about the process that big artists go through when they're making their albums that independents don't realize is going on. I tell the story of Adele going to Rick Rubin, relying upon him because she knows he's going to tell her the truth. She brought 25 to him. She brings all her stuff to him, but she brought 25 to him, and he listened and said, "You don't have it." And "You're right." And he said, "It sounded like you went around the world and wrote with all these different songwriters and recorded in all these different places and put an album together." And she goes, "That's exactly what I did." And he said, "It doesn't have enough cohesion. It's not, it's not strong enough," and went back to the drawing board. Coldplay, when they did X, Y, and Z, they sent it out to their trusted advisors when they had the record, and the feedback that they got made them scratch and go back to the drawing board, because it's and independent artists, like when you're a big artist, there's a lot on the line if that record is going to be successful or not, right? So people really pay attention to curation. But independent artists should as well, because you're trying to get a leg up, right? You're trying to actually, that record to do something for you. And that's what it's really made of. Okay, Elizabeth is asking, any tips on connecting with producers, especially where to look and find them? I always say get referrals from, people like myself, or from people, other artists, listen to their music if it sounds similar to the sound that you want. But you really need to first identify the sound you want very clearly with actual reference tracks, timestamps of what you're really looking for, and then that producer needs to have that sound, right? Or close to that sound, very close to that sound, because you don't want a producer to experiment on your record. Or like, I remember one artist went to a producer and they wanted to do a reggae pop album, and this producer they were talking to had never done reggae. And he said, "Oh, I've always loved to do a reggae project." And I'm like, you don't want your album to be their experiment or their first time moving into that genre. So I'm not a big fan of finding producers online. I know there's a lot of platforms that do that. But you're generally not going to get, those producers the way that they're pitching. There's a price and there's a limit. You're not going to get that back and forth. You're not going to get a producer who's really going to build a sound for you. So my Rolodex of producers goes pretty deep. If I don't have the right producer for the project, I start asking my compadres and associates, but going always from top shelf down. And most producers who aren't, just working for sync or just working for labels work with independents. So there's always a chance if they love the project. And, every time I send a project that I've curated, the response I get right away is, "Oh my God, the songs," right? So, because we spend a lot of time doing that. What is your advice for someone in their 40s just starting out, trying to get themselves out there in music as an artist? Basically, Marie, go back and listen to this whole thing, because it's really about the best songs, the best voice, curating your project. You know, you can basically, we've taken a lot of artists in their 40s and done their first album or second album with them, and you skip over several albums with our process. We have a whole process that we use here. And for those of you that really want your hand held through this project, go to my ccvm.co. That's my boutique label for where we do this process, where we write the songs with you, with our team. It's very curated, but we work really finding your sound and direction and really refining the message and the topics and building the branding right down into the songwriting. And then we help source the producer for you, and then we guide you through the project. Working on a project right now with someone from Iceland who we spent a couple of years writing, and then found the producer for her. And the first producer wasn't the right fit because she thought she wanted to go in this one direction. Then she started hearing stuff back and she was like, oh no, and it actually wasn't the direction she wanted to go in. So then I'm like, okay, time out. Let's go back into A&R and let's get clear. And she had been picking that direction because she thought that people would like it versus what she really loved. So once she started hearing it back and realized, oh, it's not what I really want, we went back into the A&R, and then I found the right producer for that. And we just wrapped vocals in New York. We're just wrapping them tomorrow, the final ad-libs, but we wrapped the vocals with the bigger team a couple of weeks ago, and it's going to be an extraordinary record. So you're going to skip over a couple of records, which you want to do when you're in your 40s. You know, you want to be able to make more of an impact. So it really is about curating the right record and the right material and taking the time to do that. You know, and along the way, you can release a couple singles leading up towards that bigger album. But you still need an album. You still need a seven song EP or a 10-song album to really enter the industry correctly. But that's, you know, and you can stretch that budget out. You know, you can do a payment plan with the producer and stretch that out, put out the first 2 as singles while you're building the rest of the record. Like, there's a way to do it, but you still really need that record. Otherwise you can't play festivals. People aren't really going to take you seriously. But I hope that helps. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. And don't forget, as always, the conversation that we're talking about is written out on the blog, so you can go over there if you want to get a little more information. If you came in late, you can go over to YouTube, because this is recorded live on our live page on YouTube. You'll find it. And don't hesitate to come and join us in 2 weeks on May 22nd. I'm doing the one time only this year Artist Development Masterclass, which is free for you guys. And in 75 minutes, I'm going to pull back the curtain on the hidden process that's helped so many of my clients put out award-winning records that gain notoriety and, you know, really help them get to that next spot in their music career. And you won't find this information anywhere else. So go and you can see the links in Linktree, in our link in bio, or on my website. You'll see it. And come and join us and be a part of this conversation. And for those that attend, you'll also get my Artist Development 2025 checklist to make sure you have everything that you need. You're welcome. My pleasure. Always love talking to you guys and being here for you as a support and a guide. And I will see you next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Sign up for the masterclass. Don't miss it. And I'll see you guys very soon. Okay. Sending you all my support and all my love, and go and, you know, have a wildly creative week and make time for your music so that your music can pave the path for you. Okay. Don't ever forget, there's people out there that are waiting to hear your music. That's how important it is. Okay. I'll see you guys soon. Much love. Bye.